When it comes to free-to-play games on the internet, everybody keeps talking about their favorite games. Fortnite, Valorant, Counter-Strike, Apex Legends, PUBG, and we have all heard it before. But what if I told you there are some awesome brand new free-to-play games out there that are actually really fun, but almost nobody talking about them? These are games just dropped very recently, flew under a lot of people's radar, and honestly deserve way more attention than they're getting right now. So in this video, I have picked 10 of the best, cool, brand new free-to-play games that are super underrated, that are fun to play, and there's a good chance that you'll find something that you never heard before. So let's get into it. Starting with an awesome little indie game, especially if you're into old school MMOs. This one is called Winds of Valence. It's a completely free-to-play fantasy-style sandbox MMORPG that heavily inspired by classic games like RuneScape. There is no strict storyline or linear path here. Instead, they drop you into this fully open world where you can literally go anywhere and do whatever you want, whether that's grinding combat, exploring, or just leveling up your skills at your own pace. On the surface, it does look like a pretty simple little open world game, but the progression system is actually pretty cool. It's very skill based, so you're leveling up things like attack, archery, defense, evasion, even professions like mining, smithing, fishing, and potion making, and all that directly affect your gear and your overall strength. There are so many stuff packed into this small little free game, and the performance wise it is also super lightweight, only about 2 gigs of downloads, and also pretty easy to run if you have a basic PC or a laptop. Up next we got Metal Storm. This one is a multiplayer jet combat style game where you're basically jumping into these modern fighter jets and going head to head against other players in pretty quick and intense matches. This is a pretty popular game on the mobile side, but the PC version is kind of a hidden gem because if you go to the Steam page, the game says it's still coming soon, so if you still want to jump into this early access version, you have to download the game through the Epic Game Store. Alright, let's talk a bit about the gameplay. It's super easy to get into. It is not one of those hardcore simulation games. Pretty arcadey, so you can pull off crazy maneuvers, lock onto enemies, fire missiles, and just get straight into the action without needing hours of practice. You get bunch of real-world inspired jet, each with different stats like speed, handling, and firepower, so there's a bit of variety in how you play, and as you progress through the game, you will unlock new upgrades, new aircrafts, which give you a bit of a progression loop, similar to a game like War Thunder. All in all, a simple little fun free-to-play game. All in all, a simple little jet combat game, and looks surprisingly clean for a free-to-play title. Plus again, it is super lightweight, very easy to run, even if you have low-end Intel integrated graphics. Alright, moving on to one of the most unique free-to-play games on our list today, and it is called War of Dots. It looks very simple at first, but don't let that fool you. It's basically a minimalist strategy game where everything revolves around controlling and expanding these little nodes or dots across the map. The goal sounds very simple. You have to capture territory, spread your influence, and try to outplay your opponent. But once you actually start playing, there's a surprise amount of strategy and timing involved. You gotta think about when to attack, when to defend, and how to manage your resources, because if you just spam everything mindlessly, you will get wiped pretty fast. It has kind of a gameplay loop that is easy to learn but very hard to master, and the matches can get pretty intense, especially when things start snowballing. This style of games may not be for everyone, but once you get the hang of it, the gameplay can be pretty addictive. Alright, moving on to an extremely fun-looking top-down arcade shooter called Monday Meltdown. It's a fast-paced top-down arena shooter where you run around blasting other players in small maps, taunting them, and just causing total mayhem. The gameplay is super quick and arcade style. The matches are very short and intense and somewhat skill-based, especially in multiple players running around in the same arena. The main focus is of course on the multiplayer side. You can play with up to 8 players. There are also bots, so you can still play as a solo player, which comes in pretty handy because these games are relatively unpopular. It's another super underrated hidden gem on Steam, extremely fun to play, and also you don't have to worry about the system requirements. These games can literally run on any potato PC you can find. Next up we got Pro 11, a free-to-play football simulation style of a game that is trying to do something different from your usual football games like FIFA or eFootball. So instead of controlling a whole team, you only control one player, and every player on the pitch is a real person online. So ultimately it's all come down to teamwork, positioning rather than solo skill. And right now the game supports up to 10v10. The full 11 vs 11 version is coming up pretty soon, which is pretty ambitious for an indie game like this. In terms of visuals and the animation, it is pretty basic, to be honest. You cannot compare with something like UFL or eFootball, but gameplay wise it has a very unique control system. So basically basically you have to use your mouse to aim movement and passes, and the keyboard is for the speed. Honestly, it feels a bit weird at first, but it is okay once you get the hang of it. Another pretty underrated game on Steam right now sitting on mixed reviews, which tells you the game is still pretty rough. But if you're into sports games, soccer games, want to try out something unique, it's a completely free game to jump in right now. Feed is one of those short but really interesting indie games that lean heavily into the atmosphere and the mystery. It's a very unique free-to-play retro-style point-and-click puzzle game where you're basically stuck in a house doing a simple job that is feeding pets, but things slowly started to feel off. The gameplay, it's very simple. You click around, solve small puzzles and explore this environment, but it's designed in a way that keeps you curious the whole time. But one thing to note is that the game is very short. The full game will take you around maybe 30 minutes to finish, so this isn't something that you grind for hours. It is more like a quick, eerie experience that you can finish pretty quickly. It's another super underrated game on Steam, but the people who played the game left positive reviews on the game, so if you like short, indie horror puzzle style games, download and try it out. It is totally free to play. Next up, we got Race Pro Max, and this one is a very fast-paced arcade-style racing game that actually launched pretty recently, few days ago. So it is fair to say that not a lot of people know about this game at the moment. The gameplay mixes street racing, drifting, and drag racing all into one game. So instead of just sticking in one style, you're consistently switching between these modes, which adds a bit of a variety and makes the gameplay a little bit more fun, in my opinion. It is very arcade focused, so if you're someone who already familiar with games like Asphalt, this is going to be very similar. It got quick races, tight control, and strong emphasis on upgrading and tuning your car. And I believe there are more than 50 plus real-life licensed cars, so pretty awesome. It supports both single player and multiplayer, so you can grind solo or jumping into PvP. It is not as polished as something like Asphalt in my opinion, but still pretty good if you want to jump into a brand new arcade racing game that looks very fun to drive around. Alright, moving on to another super underrated game. Next up we got Spellcasters Chronicles. It is basically a 3v3 multiplayer action plus strategy style of a game where you play as mage flying around in the battlefield, casting spells and summoning armies at the same time. So instead of just fighting like a normal MOBA, you're also managing creatures, building structures and also controlling the map, which makes it a bit more strategic than some of the other MOBA style games out there. The gameplay is actually really stand out. You can summon hundreds of units, cast different spells and even call in massive titans. There's also a deck building kind of system where you customize your spells and playstyle. You can go support, damage or more tactical depending on how you want to build your loadout. The game launched into early access on Steam about a month ago and right now sitting around mixed reviews. A lot of people like the concept and the scale, but there's a bit of complaint about the performance issues and the optimization. But the game just launched into early access. Hopefully more stuff, more optimization, more patches will be added to the game in the near future. Speedway Challenge 2026 is a bit of a different title compared to any other racing games out there. So instead of cars, it's all about speedway motorbike racing where you're riding these brakeless bikes and sliding around dirt tracks at high speed. The gameplay leans more toward mix of realism and arcade. It is not super hardcore, but you still need proper timing, control and positioning to win races. There is actually a decent amount of content in this game. You get quick races for instant action, but also deeper modes like career, league management, where you can build your racer, manage contract and improve over time, although some of the features are locked behind the in-game purchases, which is something to keep in mind. But despite that, it also supports both single player, multiplayer including ranked PvP, even local multiplayer, which is very nice for a free game. But I gotta admit, visually it's not the most eye-catching game. Looks pretty outdated for 2026, but mainly because of that, you can literally run this game on any kind of a potato PC. All you need is Intel HD graphics. Alright, finishing things off with a game called Shrapnel. This one is probably the most ambitious free-to-play first-person shooter that dropped recently. It's also one of the most mixed ones right now. The premise is pretty cool. You and your squad drop into this war-torn sacrifice zone. Basically a player's consistently getting hit by meteor debris. And you and your team's goal is to secure this volatile resource called Sigma before the other team does. So it is not like a straight-up shooter like Call of Duty. It's basically kind of mixed between some extraction shoot element and some team play. And as you collect these Sigma, you actually power up your operator's abilities, and if you hold too much, you become a target. So there is that risk versus reward loop, which keep the gameplay loop fresh every match. Honestly, a pretty solid looking game, but unfortunately there is not a lot of people playing it at the moment. It's still on early access on Steam, so hopefully we'll see more stuff, a full release in the near future. Well, there you have it guys. These are some of the coolest brand new free games that are super underrated and you probably haven't heard before. And if you know any other hidden gems, free games that deserve a shout out, drop it down in the comment section. If this video helpful to you, if you found a hidden gem, as always drop a like, subscribe and stay tuned for more free to play game coverage like this. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.